Good afternoon. Welcome. Oh, good morning. Welcome to Options Center. It's 11:30. May 21st, Tuesday. Welcome, everybody. If you're new here, go down to that bottom right-hand corner, hit that Options Center logo, and subscribe. And thanks for all the likes. Thanks for supporting the channel. It has been a ride. So right now, we're kind of grinding. I haven't done a video in a day or two, and I wanted to update now that I believe this consolidation is coming to an end. We should be breaking out pretty soon, maybe as soon as tomorrow. So what we're going to do today is check out we're going to focus a little bit more on the Elliott wave and the Fibonacci projections. I have a screen. So on Thinkorswim, you have different setups. So I have all of these saved. And this one is EW. This is my Elliott wave situation. So I have three screens, and what will pop up on each is on this one, it'll pop up the 65, and then the one above will be daily, and then above that will be the weekly. So I can kind of look at it at the same time. So that's the advantage of having more screens, but it's not necessary. You can flip from screen to screen. And so what this does is this gives me a different kind of setup point of view. I look at this one often, and we have the Elliott oscillator on this one, and now we're gonna start with the weekly and head down to the 65, and we'll jump over to some of the traditional technical analysis just so we can kind of see where it's happening. But we're getting into no man's land with all-time highs, and so there's not really too much to kind of predict price other than Fibonacci's. You don't have any support resistant levels. You don't have any resistance levels at this point. We are starting to form some support, and so we'll talk about those. Also, if you do kind of duplicate some of this, I have the zigzag high lows. It's called right here. That's the indicator that I'm using, and it just kind of gives a visual of, is it a 3-wave move, 5-wave move, 1-2, 1-2. It gives a little bit more of the visual of what's happening. So it sort of assists on my visual. And technical analysis, that's what most of this is visuals, and then mathematics, of course. But all right, so let's jump into it. We have SPY on the weekly time frame. Maybe we'll even check out Tesla at the end, because I think that's starting to break out. It's definitely got an inverse head and shoulder setup. So we have SPY on the weekly time frame, and we're going to look at some time factors with price as well. So right now, if you notice these blue lines, that's where I start a lot of these time factor points. So you have a good low here, a low, then I'll put those high to low, low to low, and then the time factors pop up over here as the 100% and whatnot. And we kind of sift through those as we get these major highs and lows, and we add more time factors. And then what we do is we look for clusters. And what's happening right now, I can highlight this. I don't know if you hear a kitten in the background, but we got a new kitten here. There we go. So that's our price target, our next price target. Now that we're above the 127.2, we're looking for the 162 extension. And where do we get that? That's from the previous. Sorry about that. Let me fix this real quick. So that's from the previous decline from 2022. Okay, so this decline here, we take the top to bottom, and that's where we start to get our retracements. So this entire time we were looking for retracements for a lower high and then lower prices, right? That's what we were looking for. And then things changed after this correction here, and price started to take off. Then we had to change with the times. But what's happening is now we hit one of those extensions from this move. That's a 127 from this correction, and we hit that. We had a reaction off it. Now we're back above it, so that's very bullish. and now we're looking for the next target at the 560. This is on the weekly time frame, so it keeps it nice and simple on this level. How do we get there? That's the more difficult question. Will it be a straight shot like this with a little bit of corrections? It could be an ending diagonal. There could be a couple different things. But what's important is to know that this is getting towards the last move. This indicator, the Elliott oscillator, is telling us this is a wave 5 move on the weekly time frame. We're starting to form that divergence here. So, this was considered a big wave 3. So you see the divergence took some time there. I don't think this one will be as strong and as long as that one, but it could still take us a couple divergences here. Could still take us to this 560 area. But in a little bit more near term, we have a price cluster coming up, and I left this 522 here because that's coming into tomorrow on the weekly time frame, but there's just one kind of line there, and so I'm not too worried about that. We might get a shallow, who knows what happens. The whole point is I wanted to show you that I usually eliminate these. I don't just have clusters pop up. I just want to show you sometimes you have these stragglers like this 9-1. We'll think about it, but we want to focus more on these clusters. So we have one coming into 530, 531 on the weekly time frame. And so that matters. We're going to be looking into the weekly time frame when we get to this point, where price is, and that might signal a top, or if price corrects into this time frame, that would probably be another buying opportunity. And then another cluster way out here into July, at the end of July there. So that's kind of what I want to show you on the weekly time frame. This stuff matters. This is already starting to form divergence. I think our upside is limited, although that seems like a far shot, 30 points to the upside. It's not that far on this time frame. So let's go ahead and compare that with the weekly traditional technical analysis. And if we pull back out, I know I'm all over the place here. If we go all the way back out, this is, again, the 2000 top. And we're forming a big old wedge, bearish rising wedge, connected to the top here. And then if we zoom in a little bit more, we have our top highlighted now. Now, we're not quite at the top of here. We want to be careful. At any point, it doesn't have to reach. There's about the top right there. So now if we zoom in, we can see that we have a little bit more room here before we hit the top. And that's around the 540 area. And you'll see some confluence there as well. So we might get a good reaction. Maybe we go kind of grind all the way up to this point where we have this confluence from this potential channel to the top of the wedge. Get a reaction off of there. And we still have the possibility of, after a reaction, doing some sort of limbo before hitting higher levels on this channel and an overthrow over this wedge. So it doesn't have to, the 540 can be the top, but just know that there's potential for the 560 at the top of this channel. I don't know how that would get there, but we have to keep that in mind as we form these divergences, that there minimum should be a correction if and when we get to this top area around 540, and that's going to matter. We're going to see that on the other time frames too. Okay, so let's go down to the daily time frame. We'll go back to the Elliott wave, and we'll show our ending diagonal possibility and show you why we're kind of pausing where we're at as well. So we're looking at this being a wave 1. These are all 3 waves: A, B, C into 1, A, B, C into 2, A, B, C into 3, A, B, C into 4. 4 is already ended. And some would say that this could be an A, B expanded flat and corrects further, and that's still a possibility. But I'm kind of I'm kind of guessing that this is the wave 4 is in at the 23.6 on this green, a shallow retracement, because it's such a powerful move and we're looking for more upside. Now, it doesn't mean that we're not going to correct, but I think that correction would be a little bit more shallow than expected, and you'd be looking for a 5-wave move up, whether that's a straight 5 waves, or if that's a ABC into 1, ABC into 2, ABC into 3, ABC into 4, and 5. Could be an ending diagonal inside the ending diagonal here as well. So just keep that in mind. I think this is going to keep kind of grinding and holding shallow pullbacks to the upside. And I'll zoom in a little bit more in just a second, show you time analysis. But this is the 560 target up here. We have 3 targets on the daily time frame, and we're at one of them right now. So zooming in a little bit closer, we're at the 138.2 from that correction that I was talking about earlier, from the 2022 correction. We're at that point at the 530, and so we got there, got a little doji candle, but really we're just consolidating right at the mark, so that's bullish. And we're looking to get on top of that. And then now, after we get above the 530, we can look at that as being a reference to the downside. If you can put your stops, raise your stops underneath there if you're worried about a deeper correction. Okay, so as we grind higher, we'll just use these different levels. Right now, I'm using the former all-time high. That's going to coincide with this gap right here. On the traditional technical analysis, we'll have that there. So above here, we're bullish, and then above this resistance, we move up our steps to 530. Okay, now important to interpret the Elliott wave, this Elliott oscillator. You see the divergence ended up playing out. We got our wave 4 correction, and we're going into wave 5. Well, this is a standalone now. Yes, you can stretch these over and say, yes, there's divergence from back here, and that's fine. But this is another cycle on the daily time frame. So yes, there's a divergence there, but this we already had our correction. We're considering this a new cycle. And so we'll be looking for some divergences on the daily time frame before we even get worried about a correction, and we don't have that yet. All right, so it doesn't mean we don't correct shallow corrections like we're doing now. We're doing a shallow time correction rather than price, but we don't have any divergences yet. Now, time factor into 23 and 24 here, we have a little bit of a cluster going into the 23rd and then the 28th. So we'll just keep those in mind. It's not like heavy like this one here, but it's something to reference to. So we'll compare that with the 65-minute in just a second. Just know that our next target is 545 on the daily time frame, and maybe we get into there as those prices as time and price come together. So we'll see where that ends up, but this would be our next level on the daily time frame, about 15 points above where we are right now. We'll just go ahead. We already looked at pretty much all of the technical analysis on the traditional aspect so far, because we're not looking at oscillators. So we're just going to move down to the 65. On the 65-minute, there's our traditional look. We have the options expected move, 535. We have a couple levels right up here. Again, that 540 area pops up again. And the 65, the hourly here. I keep doing that to you. All right, so here's what we're looking at. I changed the Elliott wave count just in case price wants to continue to grind and grind and grind. Instead of an A, B, I have a 1, 2, 1, 2. And excuse me, and then we're filling out wave 3, possibly a triangle to wave 4, and then some higher levels up. I don't exactly think this is the one. I think this might be just the first leg of an A, and then I think we get a B and then a C heading up to those higher levels. But neither here nor there, doesn't really matter. We're just kind of identifying structure. So we're correcting sideways. We're into some of these levels here. The 127 is going to be important on this time frame. We get above it, the 127, and we're looking at the 1618 up here at the 543. So that's right in the same target as those higher time frames. The 150%, we're looking at that 540 to 545. Okay, so that's how we create our zones. I think that's where we go in the near term before we have another correction. And so we're looking at time frames from a couple days from now, the 24th, all the way to the 29th, which we have the 28th and the 23rd on the daily. So again, we just have to see where price is when these time frames come up, but they're not huge clusters. So we're just going to keep a reference. And this was a good one. I left these on here so you could see this. And this was a cluster of 516, and we had our top there. Yeah, we didn't have a deep retracement, but it definitely signified a top. So we have 3 of them, a cluster. And now I'm going to hide them so we can keep our chart clean. Okay. We are forming the divergence here. We got a slight high up there, but again, this may have been the correction already. And then this will probably get a higher reading here on this oscillator coming up as price goes up. Something else I want to show you, how did I get the extensions? Same thing. Now this is the lower time frame, but we took this correction of wave 4 here. I know I don't have that labeled correctly, but this is a wave 4 at this point. So this correction, we take the top and the bottom, and that's how we got our retracements. Well, we're exceeding those retracements past the 100, and this is the all-time high here. So we now have the extensions. So we got past the retracements. Now we're at the extensions, and that's where this is the 162% extension from this correction here. So that's what we're doing right now. That's how we're developing our targets at this point. I think that's pretty much all I want to show you. Let's go over Tesla. Tesla is kind of forming a base here. So we had this nice big move, digested the move, formed a falling wedge, and now has been moving sideways, had an inside day, and we're trying to break above that today. I don't know how we'll end, but after we break out above this 180, that's this former high here, about 180. After we get above there, then I think our next target is, in the near term, it would be the options expected move at 180, about 185 for this week. But I'm not sure that would hold it, because we're looking at this starting to get into a pretty extensive move. If this is an A, B, or a 1, 2, doesn't matter. We should see a larger move to the upside, larger than this A, at minimum equal to it. So we should see some targets much higher, and this should be impulsive as soon as we break out. We're not breaking out yet. Above 180 should get us moving. And then on the daily time frames, I think we should see 196, which is the former high here in the point of control. I think we should see this by the end of the week or early next week. And so we'll roll out our positions as necessary, but we are long Tesla. And we're getting a good move today. We'll see what happens at the end of the day. Going into tomorrow, we could possibly start making these moves as soon as tomorrow. All right, that's what I want to show you. Thanks for joining us here at Options Center. Have a wonderful day. We'll talk to you soon.